Welcome to Dan Really Likes Wine. It's not that long ago I did a long overdue episode on pinotage, the first time I'd done it, and there was a really good response. A lot of people got back to me and said you love pinotage, they feel good drinking a South African grape, and that they feel that the style of pinotage is heading in the right direction. It's not always as muddy and thick and heavy as it sometimes was, and it's a slightly lighter style, more of a Pinot Noir influence coming in. Now, whether you like your pinotage on the heavier side or you prefer that newer style, there's a definite sense that pinotage is in a pretty good space in South Africa, and we are drinking a little more of it. And so that's part of the reason I'm exploring it again this week. But the other part is that I was wandering through Norman Goodfellows, run by my friend Solly Kramer, who's been selling wine across South Africa for about 300 years now, and one of the bottles that I found was something quite extraordinary. It was a bottle of pinotage, but it was white. And I had a careful look and double checked and then did a bit of research, and lo and behold we have a white pinotage in South Africa. And I thought, well, if we're doing a white, let's compare it to some reds as well. So the first wine this week is a white pinotage, and a very quirky wine it is. This is an estate called Mellesat. The people responsible for this white pinotage are an English couple, Stephen and Janet Richardson. They're from Norfolk. They now find themselves in Paarl, and it's taken an English couple to turn South Africa's grape on its head and give us white wine out of what we know as a red wine grape. Now, the way they've done that is by whole bunch pressing to ensure there's no skin contact, and so instead of going red, the wine stays white. Now, I've got no idea what that's going to do to the taste, to the flavour, how it's going to compare, but as with all wine, there's only one way to find out. Now, the first thing to notice, not inappropriately for a wine that's made by an Englishman, is just how pale it is. There is almost no colour to this at all. It is incredibly pale to the point of being completely translucent, much like holidaying Englishmen when they touch down in South Africa. But they generally have plenty of substance to them. Will the wine follow suit? And that is fascinating. There is absolutely zero chance on the planet that I would have told you, had I been drinking this blind, that that was a white pinotage. I think even Michael Freejohn would have struggled to pick it as a white pinotage. It's a Blanc de Noir, it's how they describe it. It's got that white Burgundian feel to it. It's a really nice, really quirky wine. And I quite like that. It's got a nice acidity to it, a nice burst of citrus. It's really interesting. That's a fascinating wine. I'm not sure I'd be drinking it by the bucket load, but certainly by the bottle. And I think with the right dish, that could make for a particularly memorable meal. In fact, you put that with, say, a nice Cape Malay curry, and you've got a very different but wonderfully South African combination. So that was a particularly rich introduction to the week. Imagine a Viognier, but a really, really rich version thereof. That packs quite a punch, does that wine, and it's pinotage as you've never tasted it before. This, however, is pinotage as you will have tasted it before, certainly a lot more so than the white version that preceded it. Now, this is from Manley. You've seen Manley on the show before. It's a little estate I really like out in the Tulbagh area. Very small. They make a limited amount of red wine, but they make it really, really well. It's a good, honest, hard-working, authentic red wine estate, and I've always enjoyed visiting there, usually when I've been travelling through that part of the world on the Absa Cape Epic, and I've dropped in, bought a few cases, and always keep them happily. And the pinotage, I find, is one of their particular success stories. It's nothing overwhelming. It's just a really nice, strong, robust red wine that Tulbagh can be rightfully proud of. You might remember when I did the previous episode on pinotage, I admitted that I'd had some reservations about pinotage, that it hadn't always been my favourite grape. And simply for me, that heavier, earthier style wasn't always something that sat quite as welcomely on the palate as some other wine. Now, that's purely me. Everybody's palate is completely different, and the wine that you adore might be one I'm not quite so fond of, and vice versa. But what I do like about a lot of pinotage that I'm finding now is it is a little bit lighter. It's got a slightly more postmodern feel to it, if you like, and this is one of them in terms of the pinotage that I've had from Manley in the past. It's just been a slightly gentler wine without losing that rugged pair of shoulders that pinotage generally has, and it's a wine that I've found I've had a great deal of joy drinking. And I think that's a really nice balance between those two styles. There is still that hint of nature, that hint of earth to it, but still on the lighter side. So kind of straddling the middle of that pinotage road and doing so quite nicely. Not the oldest wine in the world, but drinking very pleasantly now. It's not hugely expensive. It's a very simple, uncomplicated wine. It's South Africa's Grape. It's done very nicely. And as with all of the wine I've had from Manley, it's wine that I'm very happy to buy by the case and have on hand because I know it's never going to disappoint. To a very different part of the Greater Winelands, we leave Tulbagh and we head to Bottrafia, just outside of Hermanus, and the estate Wildekrans. So Wildekrans from the Afrikaans word meaning obsessed with stickers, and Wildekrans certainly are. They love their stickers down at Wildekrans, and whenever you see a bottle you'll find plenty of them on there. But rightfully so. They're enormously proud of the accolades that they've got. They've got plenty of them. A lot of people have tried Wildekrans wine and decided, you know what, this is good stuff, we like it, we're going to award it. And they've got many, many awards. You can see on this particular pinotage, there's the Mon Selection, there's the Decanter, there's a gold from the Vitis Vintners Award, and there's an SA Wine Index Platinum Award for 95 plus points. So it is a wine that has caught the attention of many different people. And it's a wine estate that's caught my attention over the years, in part because a good friend of mine, Gavin Verigis, is involved in Wildekrans, but also because I've just liked the wine that they've made. They've got a fresh and invigorating approach. They make wine with a huge amount of passion, and that's not unique to South African wine. It's very rare to find an estate or winemaker who doesn't have passion, but these guys wear it very firmly on the sleeve, and what they come up with, I find, has always been a most enjoyable product. Well, this is the Barrel Select Pinotage. This means, and as Pinotage goes at Wildekrans, this is as good as it gets. The winemaker's decided it's the cream of his particular crop, and this is what he wants you to taste as the very highlight of the pinotage that they make. Now, if you look at the part of the world that Wildekrans is in, it's in that Hermanus-Bot River space, not too far from Hellenade Valley, just up the road from Elgin. We're in cooler climate South Africa when it comes to making wine, and so you would expect this pinotage to be slightly on the lighter side and to lack some of the heaviness that you might associate with a slightly warmer weather pinotage. And if you were expecting a lighter style, then you would have been right, because that's exactly what it is. It goes from a nice plummy nose into a wine that's certainly still got some lovely depth, nice breadth on the palate, but is nice and light and vibrant. It's a pinotage that does justice to the Barrel Select moniker that the winemaker has handed it, and it's a very good reason why there are quite so many stickers on yet another Wildekrans bottle. And finally, on to wine of origin, Stellenbosch, winemaker of origin, Namibia. The winemaker at Spier, and he's been there for as long as anyone can remember, is Frans K. Smit, and he's the 5th most famous Namibian of all time, after Frankie Fredericks, Percy Montgomery, Michelle McLean and David Higgs. And he's making some outstanding wine. In fact, he's just started his own range, to which he's lent his name of Frans K. Smit, which sits at the very top of the Spier range, and I'll be tasting some of that in particular, an outstanding white blend in the course of the next few weeks. What I've got here is a pinotage to add to our selection and to wrap it up. Like Wildekrans, it's got some stickers, not quite as many, but it's also a pinotage that's got many accolades and much acclaim. Spier is a big estate. It's pared down slightly. It used to have almost an amusement park feel to it. There were cheetahs running around. You could go to Moyo, get attacked by large women wielding tipex who'd paint you before you ate food that probably been there for several days. They've really changed things around at Spier. They've streamlined it a bit, and that extends to their wine as well. The labelling is changing, and they're really focusing on delivering the kind of quality product that a winemaker of France's calibre and a team under him of that experience certainly deserve to have. Now, I had a tasting with France and his team, with the Sun International guys a few weeks ago. You might have seen a brief clip I did with France. And what I love about France is his sense of history with the wine that he's making and what he's doing with Spier. He's really at the heart of everything they do at Spier, from the winemaking to the industry right around it, and he's played a key role in where he sees the Spier wine estate going. And the wine that we had that particular day suggests Spier is in a very good space indeed. Now, the tasting I did with Sun International and Spier was at the Mellesat, and I did it with my friend Craig Tibbett, who heads up food and beverage at Sun International. He tends to have pinotage for breakfast. That's how dedicated he is, running through all sorts of wine tastings. And across a whole range of Spier wine, this was one that he took a particular liking to. And when I tasted it then, it wasn't hard to see why. And that really is lovely. Some very light coffee mocha tones, leathery finish, just a robust, strong pinotage, but not overwhelmingly so, not punching you in the jaw, just saying we've got it right, and that's exactly what France has done. The 21 Gables pinotage from Spier. They're making some great wine at the moment. I think this is a terrific example thereof. Some great pinotage today. Two of them, like this one, that are very similar to the kind of pinotage you'll have had before. And then an absolutely unique white pinotage from Mellesat, and it's a wine I'm certainly going to drink a bit more of, because I love exploring things that are new and different and fun. And when you've taken something as established and quintessentially South African as pinotage and put a new spin on it, then for me that's at the heart of the inventiveness and the excitement that winemaking is all about. South African pinotage, I think, in a pretty good space, and these are 4 very good reasons why. Enjoy. Cheers.